Now I'm going to actually use a binder clip here, just to kind of clamp that a little bit and keep it from moving about. By the way, if you hear panting, I apologize for that. It's my dogs. They just chased a badger-like creature out of their doghouse, so they're a little bit excited right now. This tool here is it's a groover, and I am going to put a little groove in this. I'm kind of debating whether to do this or not, but I think I will. I'm going to try to run a little groove right along the edge here to accept the stitching. I think it'll make it a little bit easier to stitch and give it maybe a little more professional of a finish. I've never actually used this tool on elk hide before, so we'll see how this works. You just put some downward pressure on it here, work it around this radius. Yeah, that didn't go too bad. We'll do the same on this side. A little bit off there. There we go. So, in theory, then, the stitching will be down inside that groove. And I suppose we could do the same thing on the back side as well. Should make it a little bit thinner piece of leather, actually, to have to stitch through. Normally, if you use this on a vegetable tan, the leather's pretty stiff, so it's pretty easy to just put some pressure and cut. This elk is a little bit soft and squishy, so it may be a little bit tougher to get a nice consistent line. There we go, not too bad. A little bit of touch up there. Okay. I think we're ready to stitch the sides together. So let me get set up for that. Okay, so before we actually get to the stitching, I wanted to discuss some options for the type of thread to use. It's got to be a sturdy thread. Just a regular sewing machine, sewing thread, or quilting thread, that's not going to work very well for you. I've got several options here. This is an artificial sinew. It's a little bit thick. It's kind of waxy, tacky. It's very strong though, and you can separate this out into smaller strands. Another choice would be hemp. This is a fairly thick hemp thread. I've never actually tried this on leather, but I'm fairly certain it would work. It's probably a little bit heavier than what we need for this particular exercise here. This piece isn't going to be under a tremendous amount of stress. Another option here. This is a waxed linen thread. It's actually, this was sold as a carpet thread, and this I think would be actually a very good choice. I don't know that I'm going to use this today, but if you can get a hold of some of this, that would be a pretty good choice. And this is a cotton crochet thread. It's pretty strong. This is another choice. I may go with this today. This is unwaxed, and I think I would wax it if I go ahead and use it, just to help it slide through the leather a little bit more easily without getting frayed. And I've got a block of beeswax that we can wax this with. So those are the choices for thread that I've got here today. There's other choices. Well, there's synthetics and all sorts of other things that you can use. But linen seems to be the traditional choice, perhaps a heavy cotton like this. I think I decided to use the cotton, the heavy cotton, just to see how that goes. I'm going to cut off a length of it here and then we'll wax it up. This crochet cotton comes in big balls. It's fairly inexpensive. And here I've got a block of beeswax. And I'm just going to draw this thread over the block. And just the heat of it's passing by, you can see here it's cutting a groove in the wax and it's getting wax on the thread itself. So we'll just do that a few times. And this thread will be waxed. Okay, I think that should do it. And I don't know if you can see it now, but after having been waxed, this has got a little bit more stiffness to it. And that's fine. Okay, what we have here is a very simple, very basic stitching horse. This clamps your work at a comfortable level. Here it's got a crossbar that goes on the chair that you sit on to kind of steady it. And so we're going to use that for our stitching. And then we've got our length of thread here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this onto a needle. It's a blunt tipped needle. Okay. And we're going to do this actually on both ends. We're going to be working with two needles. Okay, there we go. We got both ends threaded. Now I'm going to work with a stitching awl. Hopefully this works well. What we're going to do to start out with here, let me adjust this work.